how to nurture people who never pay you. I love this approach to brand building. And it might sync really perfectly with your work, or you might have to kind of adapt these principles to apply them. But either way, the mindset shift involved in this approach is transformative. In our modern capitalist economy, we're taught to see ourselves primarily as economic beings. Our days are defined by what we produce, how much we get done, what we consume. And this type of thinking seeps into how we see our audience and our customers too. It's all too easy to think of people in terms of their economic value to us. They either pay you and therefore are valuable, or they don't pay you and are of no value to you. But what if we challenge this thinking by applying a generosity model? What if you start to see and value people even when they're not buying from you? Let's start with some explanations. What does it mean to nurture people who aren't paying you? What does a big circle mean? And the approach is really pretty simple. All you're doing is creating a community of people who like your brand and engage with your brand, but you're only expecting a percentage of this circle to pay you. And if this feels a little crazy, realize that you might already be doing it. This just elevates and expands the concept. You're just putting a strategy behind it. Do you have an Instagram account? How many followers do you have? Has everyone who followed you paid you? Of course not. You're not providing value for only the people who pay you. You're providing value for everyone, knowing that only a few of them are going to be customers. They're going to shop with you. And this is what it means to nurture people who are not paying you. You just are going to expand this. You can make films, release a podcast, send emails, give away recipes and how-to guides, maybe even host events, fun ones, not the other kind. These are all nurturing activities. Any one of these activities provide value to your audience, and that value is not dependent on a financial exchange. And the wider the community you build, the bigger that outer circle, the more sales you have. Let's say 5% of people who encounter your brand eventually buy something. Well, 5% of a really big audience is a lot more than 5% of a really small one. Which means, really beautifully, that all the good things you do for people also lead to good things for you. It really is a non-zero sum game, which is an economic term, and all it really means is one person winning does not require someone else to lose. You limit yourself really severely when you confuse audience and customers in your head, because an audience has tremendous value even when they're not paying you. And in our spend-happy economy, it could be argued that attention is even more valuable. And I really encourage you to treat it as such. As potential customers, when we're shopping, when we're treated like a commodity, we'll walk away and never look back. And not only are you missing the inherent value of an audience and their time, you also may be inadvertently alienating potential customers people who may otherwise have paid you had you not made them feel like their only value to you was economic. And this approach is not a cookie cutter solution for every business. In fact, nothing you find with Creative Voices is a cookie cutter solution. Maybe you need to grow into a bigger content strategy. Maybe you have a really small audience. What you do is really niche, but still consider the principles. Consider what this would look like for you to change your mindset and change your approach and tweak your strategies. Could this non-paying audience approach work for you? How? Because I would argue that every business and organization can implement this thinking in some form or another. So let's say it really simply. When it comes to brand building, it always pays off in the long term to have a very strong nurture strategy. Always give people the option to stick around. It's not all or nothing. Pay me or go away. And fundamentally, this asks a question. Do you want a business based on transactions or on mutual thriving? And sure, someone may not pay you. But if they stick around, maybe they tell someone about you. Maybe they follow you for years and then buy a book. Maybe they do nothing but continue to show up and appreciate what you bring to the table. And in its own very real way, this counts too. Success becomes not just sales, but how widely you're able to impact, engage, and help people. Think of a brand that you like, but don't really buy from. Why do you stick around? Study it, break it down, understand it, and then adapt it and start to implement it for yourself and your work. I don't buy from Patagonia very often. And to be fair, they literally tell you not to buy shockingly often for, a clothing company. They tell you to, don't replace it with a new color if last year's model works just fine. They encourage you to buy secondhand. They advocate for all of these things. And more often than not, I take them up on it and I don't buy. Years go by without me adding something, but I still open their emails. I peruse their catalog. I read the stories. I watch their films almost religiously. I've even supported grassroots causes that they've introduced me to. And that is how they are nurturing me when I'm not buying anything. And Fjällräven is another really good example. And I actually just got an email from them this week. And in it, they talk about their brand. They're not specifically getting you to buy anything. They're just telling you that they haven't used chemicals that are going to be outlawed in the next few years, but they haven't used them since the 90s. They want you to buy something well and use it for a lifetime. So they build things to be repaired. All of these things are about nurturing you, helping you understand a past purchase, thinking about the brands differently. And they're not directly trying to get me to buy anything. And we'll touch on this some in the next lesson too. And I'm actually very excited about lesson 8 because we're doing something together that I do in my head all the time, but have never really shared. We're going to build a fictional brand together from scratch in about 15 minutes. From brand look and feel to brand strategies, it's all there. but it will also serve as some really tactical examples of what it means to nurture and contribute. It'll show us what this nurturing an audience who doesn't pay you might look like in a real business, or in this case, a fun fictional business that we built together.